School Corporation Board meeting. Meeting is started at 6:35. Apologize for the delay. If we would stand, Ms. Franklin is going to lead us in the pledge and the invocation by Ms. Overberg.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We thank you, Heavenly Father, for this time. I pray that you guide us as we come together in unity to make important decisions tonight. Give us wisdom, and as we close, help us all to love each other through this difficult time. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, roll call for the record. Ms. Franklin?
Present.
Mr. Basham?
Here.
Ms. Overberg?
Here.
Mr. Groen?
Present.
And I am present. We have quorum. Just before we turn it over to Dr. Briggs for any emergency additions, I just want to make a statement. I think everybody's here has seen the last two public board meetings in our community, in Clark and Floyd County. That won't happen tonight. If we've got a very short leash there's going to be no profanity, no yelling, no screaming. You will be asked to leave. Dr. Briggs, do you have any emergency additions to the agenda, please?
Yes, I do. Good evening, everyone. Emergency additions would include under number 8, consent agenda. Number 3, approval of claims over $10,000. One addition there is number 4, trace 3 for $29,655.68. Another addition would be under C, personnel. 4, certified stipends. A, Jennifer Dunn, private school special education coordinator, $4,750. Number 2, under number 1, approve the following classified positions: health assistant. Number 3, classified appointments. Number 14, Sherry Holder, Silver Creek Elementary School custodian. And number 3, classified appointments. Number 15, Caitlin Doyle, Silver Creek Elementary School cafeteria. Under number 4, classified resignations. Number 4, Hannah Falkenberg, behavior support para at Silver Creek High School. Number 5, Melissa Beams, intense intervention para, 521. And number 7, Amy Dinsford, Silver Creek High School cafeteria, effective 8/16/21. Under number 5, terminations, Haley Sharp, a para at Silver Creek Elementary School. Under letter D, technology. Number 4, accept the best bid for Chromebooks. Under letter E, other. Number 3, contracts, agreements, and MOU. Number 4, Southern Indiana Pre-Employment Transition Collaborative. And under number 9, discussion action items. Letter A, review Silver Creek School Corporation return to school plan. That is it for emergency additions.
You've heard the emergency additions. I'm on? All right. You've heard the emergency additions and revisions to the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Franklin makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Ms. Overberg seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. On approval of minutes, we have under A, regular board meeting from 7/19 of 21. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Also make.
Mr. Basham makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groen seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Under B, work session on 7/7/21. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Franklin makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groen seconds. Do all those in favor please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Work session from 7/8/21. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Groen makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Ms. Overberg seconds. All those in favor please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And lastly, under D, we have the executive session from July 1st of 2021. We have a motion to approve.
I so move.
Mr. Basham makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Ms. Overberg seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Dr. Briggs, school reports.
Yes, thank you. Recognition for the district, we would like to welcome Officer Tim Tillett from the Clark County Sheriff's Department as our new school resource officer. Officer Tillett has been a welcome addition to the staff. He is protecting us and helping build relationships with our students. Thank you to Sheriff Knoll and Chief Maples for making this possible and supporting the schools of Clark County. From Silver Creek Middle School, we want to thank all of our students, parents, and staff for their efforts to make it a great start to the school year. We want to recognize our operation crew for their diligent efforts to prepare our building for the start of school. Congratulations to 7th grade student Sophia Scott for her fantastic finish in the Junior Olympic Under-12 competition in Texas this month. Sophia finished 5th in the country in discus and 14th in shot put. We are very proud of Sophia. From Silver Creek High School on August 2nd, over 200 freshmen participated in freshman orientation. The event was a great success. Thanks to our freshman sponsors, Cindy Mackey and Kara Bailey, for organizing the event. On August 5th, an open house was held. We had a lot of parents. September 2nd at the Country Lake Retreat Center. And lastly, from Silver Creek Primary School, welcome to all of our new Silver Creek Primary staff members. Everyone is doing a wonderful job and settling in nicely. Thank you to our entire Silver Creek Primary staff for your hard work getting our year rolling. Great job. And I'll go back to the initial recognition of Officer Tillett. That came from Silver Creek Elementary School. Announcements. We have announcements. Work session is scheduled for August 26, 2021 at 6 p.m. at Silver Creek Middle School. Our next regular scheduled board meeting is September 20th, 2021 at Silver Creek Primary School PDAC room. And then condolences to Allison Pop on the loss of her grandfather. Our thoughts and prayers are with her and her family. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Briggs. Ms. Hawkins, Curriculum and Student Services.
So Silver Creek Spotlights tonight. I want to start with recognizing our health team. We're very appreciative of their continued efforts and their hard work every day in our buildings. They continue to go above and beyond with a very hard job right now. It's hard for them to have to deal with the COVID and the contact tracing and making those phone calls. So I want to recognize those folks: Casey Howe, Sherry Stouffer, Becky Amos, Jerry Swinehart, and Allison Pop. And I also want to recognize the principals because they always jump in on the contact tracing and the help with that as well. Also the office staff and just pretty much anybody else that has hands that can come in and help them out. So we appreciate all of those folks jumping in and helping out. It's a very busy time in offices right now. Also want to give a shout out to Elaine Kerber. She is putting together a monthly digital tidbits newsletter that she's sending out to all of the Silver Creek campus. And so lots of us can use help with technology, but the most impressive part about this from Elaine is the fact that she's doing this and nobody has asked her to do this. She just realizes that we all can use some help with that. When we go to trainings, they tell us a whole bunch of stuff in a few hours, and then we're expected to know all of that. In these newsletters, she's sort of rolling out a few helpful hints at a time. So I really appreciate that Elaine has taken this on, setting this type of example for all of us. So thank you, Elaine. In terms of a special education update for the board, Mrs. Granger is not here tonight, but she did ask me to share some things. I do want to say that Mrs. Granger has worked super hard for about 9 months getting our special education, our new programming, solidified here on the Silver Creek campus. She's had to hire teachers. She's had to go through the construction on the classrooms at each building. She's had to order materials, both desks and things like that, as well as equipment and just supplies for these classrooms. A day before, we were very, very worried in terms of what they looked like, but our teachers are doing a really great job with that. Students are getting acclimated to the new buildings, and so just want to recognize Kelly for that. We are in the process of training school teams with Safe Crisis Management. This is an excellent training that focuses on best practices to de-escalate behaviors. And so far we've completed one training this year things. So just wanted to give you guys an update on that. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. Dr. Briggs, Finance and Operations.
Yes, for the education fund, during the month of July, we receipted $1,594, or I'm sorry, $1,594,908.83, and we expended $1,319,865.82. That brings the education fund total receipts for the year to date, $11,972,506.34, and total expenditures, $7,400,334.34, with an ending balance as of July 31 of $7,819,166.09. And as the board has been reminded each month that current cash balance of the education fund will be decreased drastically as we move forward into the fall and we settle up our final split with from West Clark. For operations fund, receipts to date for the month of July, $69,963.24. Amount of expenditures in July, $467,135.59. Current balance, year-to-date receipts in the operations fund, $4,863,661.20, and to-date expenditures, $3,426,493.34, and a current cash balance in operations fund of $4,465,592.95. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth, do we have anybody sign up for public input tonight? Just a reminder, all public input will be limited to 3 minutes. When you come up, just state your name, whether you're a resident or you have a child enrolled in school. All right, board, we have, as you know, our policy states that we have 5. We have a maximum of 5 folks that can speak during public input. We do have 6. I would entertain a motion to suspend that policy for this evening and allow all 6 people to speak. If we can get a motion on that in a second, then we'll go to vote.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Grome makes the motion to suspend our policy on allowing 5 public speakers during public input. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Franklin seconds. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, first up, we have Mr. Tolliver. Go to the podium
Mr.
right here.
Tolliver.
Sorry, I apologize. Everybody go to the podium.
So you won't have an agenda item for what I would do want to talk about is now the appropriate time, or you want me to wait?
We don't have an agenda item. It's public input.
Oh, okay.
Yes, your agenda item is at the very end, but yes, we'll take your discussion.
Go ahead. Thanks for taking the time. Mark Tolliver, 618 North Forest Drive. Have my wife and I have 3 children that are in district for 5th, 3rd, and 1st grade. As of an hour ago, we have 2 in quarantine, so I feel a little silly talking to you all about what's on the agenda for me, but my brother and sister-in-law live out of district, just out of district. A lot of encouragement from us and a lot of recruiting by our school board to bring out-of-district kids in. They made a decision to go ahead and send their kids to Silver Creek this year, and they found out after enrolling their child that they could not use the school bus transportation. The situation for them is a little unique. I don't know if unique is the right word, but their child was going to be at a dedicated in-home care provider every single day along an existing in-district bus route. And they just assumed with all the great growth that we have as a school, attracting out-of-district students, sending 3 dedicated bus routes out of district, that their daughter would have been able to enjoy the bus system. They found out Friday before school that that wasn't. So as I kind of unpacked it and started to learn what was going on, did a very small sampling, talked to a handful of parents in our small little neighborhood of North Forest, Forest Estates. I'm sure that the numbers are probably much different. I don't know how to engage all the parents who are out of district. I believe we have about 550 students that are out of district transfers, which is phenomenal. But in our little neighborhood, there's a variety of folks, some of which their nephews and nieces used to ride the bus out of district transfers. They would go to their aunts and uncles and ride the bus all the way through 2019 before I think the policy changed. And then out of district kids were told they no longer had the privilege to ride the school bus. There are a variety of grandparents who live in our neighborhood. Their grandchildren had intended to come to Silver Creek. They wanted to do that. They found out they couldn't use the bus, so they stayed at Charlestown. So I don't know what the numbers are, but it at least kind of enlightened me. And as I kind of talked to some of the folks on the board, Dr. Briggs took the time that he had in light of all the COVID stuff that we're working with through. It just seemed to me that our current policy is a little contradictory, where we have children who want to be able to come to our school, use the bus system. 1 minute, thank you, sir. They want to use the bus system in district. I'm not talking about adding routes or going out of district and picking kids up. And on the other hand, we're sending 3 buses out of district to certain neighborhoods, and I understand there's numbers, but to me, it would just seem, I guess I would ask the board to, at a minimum, engage the parents who are out of district and see how many may be able to use the bus system in district before we start sending more bus routes out of district. I'd love to interact with you all. I know I'm limited to 3 minutes. Happy to answer any questions you may have. There's certainly a lot of details to unpack. But just in a nutshell, we had a policy that allowed kids to use it. The old school system canceled that. And then before we went back and gave those kids that same privilege, we kind of started sending buses out of district. So that's kind of my concerns. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you discussing it and hearing it.
I'll have one question for him, if you don't mind. Thank you for your input and your questions and speaking tonight. So you're stating that you want us to kind of revisit that policy and the kids that are out of district be able to use the buses that are currently running in district routes. How would you propose that occur?
I would, I'm a parent, so I'm always mindful of having a dedicated point of pickup and drop off. And I would propose, and certainly welcome any of your thoughts, because you all do this far more than me, but I would certainly propose at a minimum that if a child has a dedicated in-home caregiver or family member where they're going to be picked up and dropped off on a daily basis, just one point, I'm not talking about picking a different spot every day, that seems like a pretty logical place to start.
So like if the parents took the child to a relative or a friend's house or a parent's house and they were there for pickup and drop off, that's your...
Yes, ma'am, or a daycare provider. There's a lot of in-home daycare providers in our district, and I think that a lot of them would like to have that opportunity as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you for your time, and we do have the bus routes as an agenda item, but we wanted to give you the moment to be able to speak.
I appreciate
that started.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that.
All right, next up, we have, is it Laura Demont?
My name is Laura Dement, and I'm a mother to a 6th grade student. I'd like to start by thanking and echoing what Ms. Hawkins said about thanking all the nurses that are working so hard on all the contact tracing and making all the calls. I know their job's really hard right now, and they're very appreciated. So I believe everyone in this room has a common goal, and it's to keep our students in school where we know that they learn the best and that teachers are more successful at teaching our students. After 9 days of school, hundreds of students are in quarantine, and there are 53 positive cases of COVID across our school buildings at the last time I checked. In 6th grade, there are 233 total students. Over 120 of them were quarantined on Friday from 14 positive cases. Now the cases are up to 17 at last check. Last year, there were between 30 and 40 cases in the middle school for the entire year, and we're already at 17 at 9 days into the school year. So 3 things have changed since the last school year. First, the precautions to keep our students from spreading the virus. Second, the vaccine for 12 plus, and the virus variant. So per the in.gov website, over 80% of the COVID cases in Clark County are the Delta variant. So I don't know if everybody knows this, but there's something that's called the R0 factor. The R0 means how much the virus spreads. All right, so just for reference, the flu has an R0 factor of 2, meaning if one person is infected with the flu, they're probably going to spread it to 2 more people. So that's the average. Last year, when we came into school, the R0 factor of COVID was 3. All right, the Delta variant, we are looking at an R0 factor of 7. So each student in our school building who's infected is very likely to spread it to 7 more students. And we don't have the precautions in place.
Ma'am, you have 1 minute left.
Thank you. With the COVID Delta variant being even more contagious than we saw last year, I'm asking the board to implement all the safety precautions that we had last year, including a mask mandate for all students and staff. If our goal is truly to keep all students in school as much as possible, this is the course of action we need to take. With everyone wearing masks, only students within 3 feet of someone that is COVID positive needs to quarantine, whereas if they're unmasked, students within 6 feet need to quarantine. Automatically, you see more students in school if the students are greatly reducing the number of students out of school. So on the Silver Creek School Corporation Facebook photo, the Silver Creek core values are listed: respect, excellence, and integrity. If you are truly committed to providing an exemplary education where all students excel academically, socially, and emotionally, and will demonstrate high moral principles through your actions, please implement a mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DeMint, for your time.
Thank you, Laura.
Next, we have Cheryl Gardner.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to say something, and I'm not sure if this is where I'm supposed to be asking this question or not, but here goes. On the steps of the lady in front of me, I have a grandson in 5th grade, and we were just notified that he has got to quarantine as of tomorrow. My question is there a policy for a parent who, say, wants to pull their child from school because of all these cases? How do they go about that? And is there a plan in place for if parents get to this point where they just want to pull their kids out and not send them to school because these numbers are increasing? That's my question. I'm not as familiar with it because I don't have a child coming here every day. Of course, I'm a grandparent now, but I just wonder if you all have anything in place. And what are the rules or the laws if a parent decides to pull their child from school? How do they get, schooled at home, kind of like what we did last year? So I don't know if that's something you all are going to address later or not, but I have a concern about that because we may be to the point where we don't send him back to school.
Respond now.
I'm going to answer that as far as virtual.
Yes, every parent has the right to educate their child how they see fit.
Okay.
If they want to transfer from our district and go to another district or educate at home, you can meet with your principal and they would have the steps and give you the information as far as steps to take to do that and also the accountability involved.
Okay. And as of right now, we do not have a mask mandate in this school. Is that correct? Or in this district?
That is correct.
Even with the numbers increasing like they are?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Kramer.
My name is Dee Kramer. I'm a teacher and librarian at Silver Creek High School. I wanted real briefly to touch on the mask issue, just from a teacher viewpoint. I think that one of the reasons why the spread is so much greater and so much quicker than last year, in addition to what she's saying, is the fact that we have, instead of 400 kids in our building, 950, because we're not doing virtual right now, so we have a lot more people in there. I've also read the posts on Facebook and everything on the corporation's page where a lot of parents are upset over it. I just would like to say from our viewpoint is, as a teacher, I would say 80 to 90% of the kids in my classes are not wearing masks. And so I'm assuming that that reflects what the parents want. With the parents, if 80 to 90% of the parents do not want the kids to wear masks, that really doesn't determine what you all have to do, because the number one priority for you all and for all of us in the schools is student safety. But I wanted to throw that out to you just from a teacher's view. The biggest thing that is an issue to me right now is closing school. That's what I want to address. I know Henryville and Borden are now on e-learning through the rest of the week. Austin is closed. I am begging you as an educator to do everything you can to not close down school. If we have to, if it goes to that and you have to do it, we have too many kids who are living in abusive environments that have, addicted parents at home that aren't getting food. School is their safe zone. So anything we can do to keep those kids in school, I'm behind 100%. If that means I'm not a mask person, but I'll wear the mask if that means we get to keep these kids in school. I do ask, if you decide that we need to go home, I would all ask you then to look at your faculty and staff. Because in the past, faculty and staff were required to come into the building during e-learning. I would ask you to make that optional because we have a lot of staff members who are high risk, caring for high risk family members, and I think we should trust them to be able to work remotely from home too, as those staff members are way more likely to get ill and be hospitalized than our children are. Okay, if you mandate that teachers have to be in the building and we're closed, I just ask that we look at some creative options perhaps, where at least it's optional for some parents maybe to bring in their kids even though we're on e-learning, put them in a big area 6 feet apart and have them do their e-learning in the building where they still have access to the internet. They're going to get lunch every day. They've got somebody there who will care for them. I just beg that we find some way to keep them in school, at all costs. The financial impact, in addition to these parents who have young kids, I'm a high school teacher, so it doesn't affect me as much, but these parents that have kindergartners and first graders, I'm sick of people saying, well, they're just counting on us to be babysitters. That's not true all the time. If you give them enough notice, they'll find a babysitter, but the point is, they're taking a financial impact. This is killing some of our families who are already struggling to meet the needs of their kids financially. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Kramer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dee.
Next, and I'm going to apologize. I know it's Charlene, but I cannot read the last name. That's a F? Okay. This is,
Many teachers have already had to suffer that name. Okay, my name is Charlene Lefevre, and I live at 104 Plum Run Court. I have 2 children in our district currently. I know I've spoken with a few of you, and I've spoken with some principals, and I really appreciate everybody's time. Our school year has only just begun, and we are experiencing the high number of children being sent home for the 3rd school year. Parents and employers are once again scrambling at home. Teachers are being sent home and trying to outline lessons for students who are in class and online. I understand that everyone is trying their best, and I feel fortunate to be in the Silver Creek schools. I appreciate the superintendent and school board for allowing masks to be optional this year. We spent over a year following mandates that had continued to send our students home and ultimately close our schools last year. This summer, I was reminded how my children thrive off the interaction with their peers and participating in physical activities. Their ability to learn from other adults is key to their development. I ask you to give us the option for quarantine or look at other creative solutions to keep our kids from being stuck at home another school year. There are many districts in the U.S. who are exploring this. I know it's not easy, I know it's messy, but I ask you and I plead for you to care for our community, our parents, and our students. That's all I have to say.
thank you.
Thank you, Charlene.
And last we have Ashley Lone.
Hi, I am a newbie and nervous. Couple of things that I wanted to ask was, my son started kindergarten this year, and I'm noticing, especially with the high temperatures that we've had, the bus situations. He's been getting off the bus red, lethargic, sweating. They actually even have him at the front of the bus now, not wearing a mask because it's a problem. I think I'm just going to start trying to pick him up. But at the same time, my schedule is very busy with work as well. And I'm not always able to utilize that. And the bus helps. I don't know if air conditioning is an option. I know it is on the special needs bus. I don't know if that's something that's been talked about before. This is my first time, but that is a thing. The other thing is, it seems like I'm hearing a lot of complaints from parents that the school seems like it has a lot of students, and I understand there's a difference with virtual versus here. I hope that option does come for people that don't want to wear, or that do want to wear masks or don't want to wear masks. But the main thing is that it just feels like, I don't know how many out-of-district kids there are, but I know that we're short on bus drivers. I've talked to some of the bus drivers, and they're getting frustrated. And the temperatures are a problem. And there's children that have thrown up because of the high temperatures, and there's no air circulation, only when the bus is moving. So I guess if that's just something that can be looked into, I'm for wearing masks on the bus. I'm not saying anything against that. But my daughter's getting headaches. I took her to the pediatrician today. A good friend of mine is an ER physician out in Utah. I talked to him about it to see if this was even a valid concern. And the bus drivers are not paramedics. So if something were to happen, it's putting them in a very difficult position to have to take care of a child, get immediate attention. So, oh, that's fine. I probably need a shush, because I'll keep going. But anyway, that's it. I just didn't know if that's something that had been looked at. I know we're going all year round school. And it was hot last week, and one of the bus drivers mentioned, well, we could, have the parents pick them up sooner in high temperatures. That's just going to impact parents having to make, look for work or somebody to watch them. So, if that is an option, I am concerned. My babysitter was concerned. The bus driver was concerned. But yeah, also the school size. That seems like we've got a lot of out-of-district kids. And I came here for that, for the quality. I just hope that that's not a factor. So I'm a bounce. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much.
All right, Dr. Briggs, you want to go over the consent agenda?
Yes. And feel free to
Okay.
Yes, looking at the consent agenda under finances, approval of the claim docket for $1,572,048.32. Approval of the claims between dockets, items 1 through 12. Approval of claims over $10,000, items 1 through 4. There are no grants to approve. Approval of Education Operation Fund monthly transfer of $232,124.91. Approval of the following donations. There are 30 of them listed there. Approval under personnel, certified positions. Number 1, approve the following certified positions. There are items A through E. Number 2, certified appointments, items A through M. There are no certified resignations, certified stipends, item A. Classified positions, approve the following classified positions, item A. Classified appointments, there are 15 items listed there. One of them has been struck through, so I would ask you to approve items 1 through 3 and items 5 through 15. Item 4.
Is that one just pending the background check?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Item 4, classified resignations, items 1 through 7. Terminations, item 1. And under technology, items 1 through 4. Under number 6, other, language update to policy 5630.01, use of seclusion and restraints. This would be our second reading on that policy. Number 2, there are no field trips to approve. Number 3, contracts and agreements, MOU, items 1 through 4. Item 4, Silver Creek Middle School fee increase for IXL. Item 5, Silver Creek High School proposal to start a unified track program. And item 6, Silver Creek High School proposal to add 2 courses to the master's schedule, Project Lead the Way Computer Science A and Project Lead the Way Aerospace engineering, not Aerosmith, but hey, you never know. And that would be it for the consent agenda. Thank you.
I'll be honest, under technology, I'm not quite sure what we're approving there when it says accept the best bid for the Chromebooks. The information that got added to the end of the packet here, one of the quotes is at 100,000. So I'm not sure which supporting documents go with which items in technology and what we're approving exactly.
Yeah, I had that same question, Rachel, to be honest with you, because I think this was added late to the revision, the board packet that was sent over. What is best bid? Is best bid the cheapest price, or is it the best delivery time along with price?
Nope. Both of those are in there to show you the two that we received, and we would want the lesser of the two in dollar value. It's for $86,300 from RTI Riverside Technologies.
So that one is the one.
Yes.
And is that for additional Chromebooks for the greater number of students we have this year? Are these for new Chromebooks?
Yeah, these are for new Chromebooks, and Jerry's back there. Jerry, this is we have more students this year, so we had to up our inventory.
Yeah, increase the 1-for-1 initiative.
Yeah, that's to maintain our 1-to-1 initiative. Yep.
Okay, and you said it would be the $83,000 quote?
Yes, that's correct.
And is that who we've used in the past? Is that pretty much standard for purchasing Chromebooks?
Yeah, you can come up.
To answer your question, we have used RTI to purchase Chromebooks last year to supplement what we had before, and that's for 200. We actually are down to 3 Chromebooks sitting on the shelf today. We've had 200 plus students come in, so that's why we're doing it. And it's for $86,000, I think it is.
86.3.
Yeah. So that's pretty much standard cost for purchasing new Chromebooks.
Correct. And yeah, they're approximately $450 depending on what model you get. That estimate also includes what's called a white glove service, which they'll provision them for us and everything. All we have to do is put them in a bag and hand them out to the students. Whereas the other bid was from a QPA provider for the state of Indiana, and that was not the case. Now that's licensing because Chrome devices require a Google management license. That's the Chrome device, and that's an extended warranty on it also, with a bag.
So not only was it the better bid, but it also came with basically more perks, so to speak.
Correct. And I spoke to the vendor today before we came to our meeting over here this afternoon and asked them the availability. And they said if they were to get a PO tomorrow, now granted, it was contingent upon your approval, but they said they were in stock today, unlike last year where we had to wait for 3.5 months. They said that they should be able to have those to us by the end of the week or the first of next week.
Oh, wow, nice.
And can you talk a little bit about this other part that we're approving, this contract for secondary ISP internet connection?
Sure. So one of the issues we ran into specifically this past year, especially during the testing, we went down for 4.5 hours, and some of the principals can attest to that during our state testing. It's something that I've been working on for a while to get a secondary ISP to come in so that if our primary or one of our ISPs were to go down, we would still have internet connectivity and allow us not to drop off the internet, because everything's becoming so cloud-based and we're so dependent on the internet connectivity.
How much is that contract?
Which part, the firewall or the connectivity from the ISP?
ISP internet connection.
So I got quotes from 2 different vendors. One who's one we use right now, ENA, and a secondary one was from another company called, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's $13.50 for the winning bid. The other one was $19.60 a month. And that's another gig connection that we have to the internet, which would be, it wouldn't be just sitting there doing nothing. We would actually be utilizing it, both connections simultaneously. But if there was a failure on either connection, the other one would pick up that coverage.
And then the firewall
yes,
contract?
so that's That's a concentrator. One, we'd be going to 2 gig for an internet connection. Our firewalls at present, they're actually going to be end of life, end of service in 2024. So they're going to have to be replaced anyway, but this allows us to have redundant internet connectivity.
And how much was that one?
30-something thousand.
32,528.
Yeah, 30.
Is it the one from CDW?
Yes.
And that's for the
32.
year?
No, that's a one-time
It's just a
purchase
one-time
for that,
expense.
with 3 years service.
Oh, okay. Whereas the internet connection, that's
That's a-
$13.50 a month, is that what you said?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I got one question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to be accepting bids for obsolete equipment. What equipment do you have available?
No, he already accepted.
Well,
bids.
the
Oh, you
bids-
already did?
Yeah, the bids. Yeah, we put it out for bid a couple months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I just want to know if it was available.
Anything else? Okay.
No,
thank you.
thanks, Jerry.
Hey, thanks, Jerry.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
Mr. Basham makes the motion. Do we have a second?
A second?
Ms. Overberg seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. So discussion action items, there was a actual emergency addition to the agenda. A, review the Silver Creek School Corporation return to school plan. We are actually going to table that discussion. We have put together a plan. We met this just a little bit ago, and there's some things that we do have to work out before we can do that, so that will be coming soon.
So, Chris, are we tabling the discussion or just the vote?
All of the above. Unless
So
there's
if I
something
wanna-
that you want to discuss.
Well,
I mean, we
there-
can discuss, we're just tabling the vote.
yeah. I would like to make a comment on it.
Sure.
Since it is an ongoing issue, I would just like to basically have my voice heard on this to everyone. I want to say that firsthand, I know how it feels to wear a mask when you're teaching. It's hard. I know it's hard. I've been there. And I know how it is for our students. It puts a barrier between you and your students. But that said, sending them home to work virtually is a greater barrier. And it's even harder. It's harder on the teachers and it's harder on the students. And when I look at, and I'll be honest, when school first started, I was very hopeful that we wouldn't have to do masks. But I very quickly began to realize that this was a slippery slope that we're going down. When I look at our neighboring districts that started out with no masks and how the positivity rate went up so much and the quarantines that were happening. I also had to look at the neighboring district that started out with masks on day one. From day one to now, they have had 6 positive cases. So you can imagine what their quarantining is at this point. It's basically nothing. And they have, like us, 28 or more students in the same size classrooms. I don't like masks. I don't think any of us really like them. But I think our greater objective here needs to be keeping kids in school, where they need to be learning from their teachers, having a safe environment to be in, being with their peers. Being in mask last year allowed us to be active in ECAs, allowed our sports teams to go on to state level and win. We were able to stay very active and together as a community, except for a very short amount of time when we were virtual, and that was awful. Going virtual is awful. It's hard. It's so hard. It's much harder than wearing a mask. I know some will say that even if we were wearing masks, it would only take our quarantining down that we have right now to around 300 and something, whereas right now we're around 6 something in quarantines. But I would beg to differ and say that it would be even less than that because the masks do work in protecting from transmission from one person to another. obviously not at 100%, but I would say the amount we have at home would be even less than 300, even less than half. So that's where I stand on this. I don't know where we will go from here as a board, but I thought it was important for everyone to understand where I'm coming from on how I feel about this.
Anybody else have anything to say?
Then for the point there too, that I appreciate those coming tonight and speaking. I know sometimes it is hard to get out and be a public speaker. I understand. I also want to say that mask or no mask, some of us are in situations where you can be 3 feet and kids still at home. Doesn't like e-learning, doesn't help them at all. Teachers don't like it. Okay, I understand that. My other kids that are out there, they don't like it either. I feel like they need to be in the classroom. I think we will explore every option possible to keep kids in class. I think we'll do everything safely and profoundly, and we're going to do that by the Silver Creek School Corporation's numbers. I feel like we can go down that path versus having to explore other people's, because this is us. Because again, if I could have a option than keeping a kid or my son or daughter in class, I would highly the same way as most people. And just by the look of what's in our community, and stated by Ms. Kramer of the number of students that are in a classroom, a number of students that are coming to the class, yes, they all wear a mask coming in to the school, but look at our audience tonight. How many has a mask, how many don't? So that to me, I will go by what the constituents are appealing to me for.
Anybody else? Anything?
I just want to reiterate that I appreciate the fact that we've worked really hard on this. We're going to continue to explore all of our options. Nothing's being done in a hasteful manner. We're considering all options. We all do have one common goal, which is to keep the kids in school. In my view, when looking at this return to school plan, the biggest issue that we're facing is the fact that we are basically under statute to quarantine children. And when that factor changes, then a lot of the challenges that we are facing in the district will go away. So we'll continue to work at it as a board. Appreciative of all of our administrators who are consistently working on this daily. That is their new, basically, number one job, is to come into school every day and facilitate the COVID protocols. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. I think for now we just need to focus on continuing those conversations and moving forward.
I'd like to say it's obvious what my opinion would be, but our number one goal is try to keep students in classrooms, and it depends on who you talk to, what scientists or what health department or doctors even got different things. But I know that e-learning does not work. I give our teachers credit. They put a lot of effort in it, but the vast majority of our students that has to go to that, they fall even further behind, and that really hurts them. Is it a right answer, wrong answer? There is no good answer. We got a state government that doesn't want to touch it. You know, he's got higher ambition, so he's not going to mess with it this year. He's going to leave it up to for commissioners to make those final decisions in the county instead of health departments. I think they're scared to touch it too. So for us, down the road, this board will have to make some tough decisions, because all of us agree we want to keep our students safe and we want to keep them in classrooms.
All right, with that said, do we have a motion to go ahead and table the vote on the revised return to school plan? Mr. Basham makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groen seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, next we have out-of-district bus stops. Mr. Groen, I think you had this added to the agenda. Do you want to discuss?
Yeah, I've actually been contacted by multiple people. I've actually spent quite a bit of time with Carrie Kahafer as well to discuss opportunities for our kids that are out of district. There are different ways to look at it. Carrie's here tonight to also help provide her input. I think, the thought process sometimes in the past was, okay, now my kid's out of district, but if I just drop them off somebody who's in district, we have a influx of students on one bus, but we're not giving everybody the opportunity. You also have people like Mr. Tolliver, who spoke tonight, who is willing to not only provide for his niece or nephew to be there, his in-home daycare provider is also in district. And I think even though the child is not, that's where that child's going. So maybe we can talk about is there an option for us to say, hey, if he's going to he or she's going to a daycare provider, right? May not be a licensed provider, may not be just may be a caregiver, like another woman who spoke here tonight. Sorry, I don't have her name right in front of me. Miss Gardner has a grandson that's doing the same thing. Let's look at options of saying, hey, how can we provide an option for our kids to come to school? And maybe it's an option where maybe right off the bat we have a full bus. We may not be able to do it, but if we're going to that same neighborhood and we have a half a bus, wouldn't it make sense to throw that kid on the bus? Let's do it. And it's been provided to us tonight how many out-of-district transfers we had. Our school district is within 5 miles of so many other districts. And there's a reason why another woman who came tonight came to our school, okay? It is because we have great education. We have great educators. We have great administrators. Those are our backbone, right? And to answer a question for you wondering earlier, is we're going to help alleviate that? We have a building plan, and it is working. So if you have you watched other board members, but that's another story. But Carrie, would you like to provide your input? Maybe we can discuss this.
Oh, there she is. Carrie, I guess one question I have before you get started, and this may be, what we're going to talk about, but somebody had mentioned that this was in 2019 we had a understanding that kids could ride multiple buses. Does this have to do with plans that we changed because of COVID, or is it because of overcrowding? I know that there was a policy put in place for a reason. I just was wondering what the reason for that policy was.
Right. So basically, transportation hasn't been changed. In 2019, there wasn't a policy that allowed out-of-district students to ride on in-district buses going to in-district addresses. That's not something that we allowed. Back in, I believe it's 2016, 2017, we did send letters out to the remaining out-of-district before we reopened our out-of-district transportation or transfers. We reopened that. Prior to reopening that, we did send letters stating that we would no longer provide that transportation based solely on the fact that it would be bus crowding, the economics of providing transportation for so many other students. As of now, 550 students coming in from out of district, we would have to expand our transportation greatly, which in turn would cost our district funding to be able to do so. I understand where you say, if we have a bus that's half full, could we possibly put them on? I feel like, being director of transportation, that it is the safest thing that we stay with our policy that says out-of-district transportation is provided to board-approved routes and to the daycares, simply due to safety. Putting more students on the buses, it does crowd them. It makes them harder to maintain. It creates discipline issues. So I have compassion for the out-of-district families completely. I feel like that we are providing opportunities with our new out-of-district routes, that we're growing, that we're trying to accomplish those things. So I don't think that we're just completely cutting it off. But at the same token, I do think that we should, as a district, have a policy in place in regards to safety first.
And I agree with you on that. I guess, and we do that for neighborhoods, right? For the out of district transfer, a lot of times we have a space for those to go. And I understand right now we're short drivers, we're short in a piece. What is there a verbiage that says, hey, they are a daycare provider, right? Can we get it in writing from them saying that kid will be there every day? Because again, if we are in a neighborhood and we have half full, is it feasible? I mean, I'm just looking to expand our horizon here. Give us options, right? Be an open book. To say, hey, let's look at everything. Is it a possibility to allow that kid who might live on Highway 60, who's not on a neighborhood, right, but in district, get on a bus? Or because, a daycare provider has the legal terms, but if that family is willing to sign a letter or a document saying they will be there and we are providing a service, is that something we can look at? I mean, is that something that we would be open to reviewing a policy? I don't know.
My feeling on that is then we are providing a gray policy. We are saying, hey, if a bus has an open seat, that out-of-district student can fill it. My problem with that is Sellersburg at this point is ever growing.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
So today's
my son and daughter's bus is packed.
Packed, yeah.
100% packed.
Yeah.
I mean, to a point where there should be a second bus route.
Mm-hmm. But I have a problem with saying that it's okay to say yes today and no tomorrow based on the number in that bus. I think that's harder on parents versus us having a black and white policy in place that is across the board for every student. I think it's hard to provide that gray because then you're saying yes to one student, no to the next student. And I don't think that that's right because that student's going to find the next daycare person or the next aunt and uncle that's going to provide that. Also, I fall back on the idea that when they apply for out-of-district transfer, that it states on there, number 2, under summary, you are responsible for providing transportation. It doesn't ever say that we are going to provide those things.
Sure.
No, I'm not trying to be against the concept. I'm just saying, like, safety-wise, I don't think that this is the way that we should.
What specific safety things are you concerned about?
About overcrowding the buses.
Okay. So right now, how many seats are on a bus?
Depends on the bus. We have 66
So a normal
passengers.
bus.
Well, we have 3 different types.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a 66, a 72, and a 78. That's capacity. That's not what we.
But they're safely made to sit 3 to a seat, correct?
I would not. I mean, I'm just telling you, I would not.
Go back to the side of the student. You can't put 3 middle school or 3 high schoolers in the same seat.
Correct, Joe. Yep. I would say safely.
And they're on a separate bus too, by the way.
But that goes back to what she's saying. Each route's a little different, and I think there is a possibility that we could look at routing, if it would be possible to allow more, but just to open up and say we're going to do that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe even having
more.
Well, that's my thought. Maybe have an opportunity after 2 weeks. We know how many kids are on the bus, and if we had somebody who said, "Hey, I want to be on bus 302," well, bus 302 is full. Okay, we don't have that option, sir or ma'am. We don't have anybody on your bus. However, now if let's say bus 302 has a spot, say, yeah, you know what, we could allow your kid. However, we're going to need you, like we had already made the amendment earlier, that if we are not delivering to your sister-in-law one day, your brother-in-law the next day, your aunt and uncle another day, and a grandparent the following day, because we did make that change, to where it's one stop. So that's me. I'm just.
But Scott, what happens when you take the one seat from the one in-district student?
That's why I said after 2 weeks.
And then in the middle of the year, you're telling that out-of-district student, well, we no longer have capacity for you. Now find a sitter. The way that we're doing it is,
but after
from
2
the
weeks,
beginning, they know
right?
what to expect. This is playing a game back and forth of.
Hey, look, I'm just weighing options here because
Right.
ultimately, as this district grows, we're going to run across this more and more. And as we find out, a lot of people are coming here for a reason. It may not always be for a bus. It's for something else. It's for the education. So sometimes, I hate to say it, and I know Joe the same way. I don't want 3 to a seat, and my kid's bus is full, but I don't know. I guess I think we need to be open to opportunities and maybe finding a solution to maybe help others. I don't know. That's my thought.
I think it's something that we could have a lot of discussions about and see what, just in general everybody thinks and get more input from you. I think with COVID and all the challenges that present the contact tracing and the implementations you've had to go through to keep transportation a go, I think that it's a lot to ask right now to try to change anything, but I think that the discussion, like any other thing that we discuss, we can always discuss it and see kind of where we end up. I did want to reiterate that when the out-of-district transfers are signed, they are signing that they understand that there is no transportation. And I think it just needs to be put on further discussion. I think some of it, would probably take a lot of time. The incidences that you have happen, where luckily we don't have them a lot here in Silver Creek, but when you start allowing children to be dropped off at a relative's house or using an address, our bus drivers are absolutely responsible for those kids, and I know Carrie takes that to a very high responsibility. Our bus drivers don't just leave kids. They have to have an adult there. What if the parent's not there, at the time of pickup? Or when the child gets dropped off the bus, maybe the relative or the babysitter or whoever's responsible at that address for the child isn't home for whatever reason. Maybe they ran to the grocery store and the parent's not there to pick them up. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios that could happen, and I know that you take safety very, very as a high priority. So I think that we just need to look at it a little bit further.
No, and I agree.
It's a growing issue, obviously. It's a growing challenge that we're going to run into. If we could run a bus to every single place that we could offer a ride to every single kid, we would do it. But there's a lot of numbers and finances that go into that as well. So I'm open to further discussion. I just don't think right now with every single challenge that we have on our plate that it's something that we can just kind of throw out there and see if it sticks.
Right, and we're also looking at too, I mean, you're talking, fuel costs. I know you may be in that area. It's still another stop. You're talking timing. Some of our routes are extended times. Your route in particular cannot make it between both schools because it's so many kids, so many stops. Those things are to think of. And truly, like on a personal level, I have a hard time saying we're going to crowd an in-district bus with out-of-district students. I just have a hard time with that. That's a personal thing. I've grown up in Silver Creek. I graduated here. I have a hard time saying we're going to pack a bus based on out-of-district kids. So I just want to leave that, in the end,
and I
because
appreciate
that's
that.
for
Trust
me.
We don't want to pack them in like sardines, but
No.
I mean, I think it is reasonable to kind of look at this objectively, kind of going forward to really, see what buses do have some availability. Where are people asking to drop their kids off? I think it might be really good, just to kind of look. Public input goes a long way, and so when you come forward and you bring that issue to us, then we can kind of look at it. But it would be good to look and see, how many buses are almost at capacity right now with our current students versus if we have some that show some openings and things like that. So
yeah, we only have about 3 or 4 routes that lay underneath about that 50 mark. I mean, guys, and that's part of, and maybe that's something I should have explained from the very beginning. That's part of how I feel on that, is we don't have buses that are running around that are 20, 30 kids. Majority of our buses, out of the 24, the 3 out-of-district routes, of course, are lower in number. Right. But the rest of them, we're running a good solid 50, if not higher than that. And that's a lot of kids in one bus. It really is.
Right, and that was just my thought. Like, hey, bus, I don't know why I keep using 302, but let's say bus 302, on average has 45 kids, or when we go in there, we had 45.
Well, and I think and I'm not a transportation expert by any means,
by no
but
means. That's why I rely on
what I'm thinking is that if we had one bus that, was in district that was possibly not at capacity or had a lot of room, to fit kids in, maybe we could have some designated bus stops in district. I don't know. You would have to tell us in a further discussion what that looks like, because I'm sure that we have a lot of great ideas sometimes, and then when we come to the person who actually has to do the work behind the idea, they're like,
Yeah.
Well,
and
there is a lot that goes into it. You have to discuss too, like when you do out of districts, you also have to have special needs. You have to have every other bus possible to provide service for every kid that's out there. So no,
Yeah,
you
and
do,
it's just
you do
a lot
great
of
job.
gray.
We do a
I
great
like
job.
us to roll
appreciate
by
it.
policies personally. I mean,
No.
it
Yeah,
helps us know where we're at as a district.
Right.
So, that is hard when we're saying,
Right.
I just want to say while you're up here, you guys do a great job. Your bus drivers, your monitors on the bus do an amazing job. If anybody ever wants to go see something pretty amazing, go watch a school dismissal at the end of the day. Hundreds and hundreds of kids dismissed in 15 minutes, car lanes, buses, especially on our footprint. I think you do a great job. I wanted just to ask you a couple questions about somebody that spoke earlier and give you an opportunity to speak on that.
Sure.
Because I think the questions were potentially about AC use on the bus and what that's looking like with the heat index. And so you just want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So last week it was extremely hot on the buses. We do the best that we can with the windows down. The big buses do not have air. None of them do. I did get a couple of questions on that.
How many buses is that does not have air?
All big buses. We do not. We have not purchased any big buses with air. It's a $20,000 in excess of the purchase of the bus to do that. We're looking at that moving forward because of our extended calendar school year. Please keep in mind though, we've only purchased 3 big buses in probably the last 5 or 6 years. So it has been an extended time for us to be able to start into those ideas. Please keep in mind, the kids are on the buses at max probably 35, 40 minutes. Last week, I assure you that they were hot.
And you look at that every day, right? You're monitoring weather, you're monitoring safety conditions, and if you felt like the students shouldn't go out on the buses due to heat, then you would make a decision and communicate with Chad, and you guys would make that decision to hold the buses.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for answering all of our questions.
No problem.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thanks, Carrie. All right. Item C on discussion and action items is the Memorandum of Understanding on the Dragon Pals MOU. Just to take us a few minutes to kind of go over what that is, and then really kind of allow Rachel and Christy to speak about that. They have a whole lot more information than I do. But just to give you some history, there was a grant opportunity that came out earlier this year. Part of the deal with the grant was that you had, correct me if I'm wrong, it had to be applied for by a nonprofit. It could not be applied for by a school corporation itself.
That's correct.
As Silver Creek, we had at that time had decided that we were going to apply for this grant with numerous other school corporations through the Wilson Educational Center. And all grant money that was received would be split amongst numerous school corporations. That's when the Dragons Foundation came to at that time, Dr. Brillhart, and it talked about having the Dragon Foundation apply for that grant. The grant was applied for, and we did receive a pretty substantial amount of money, if I'm not mistaken, almost $900,000.
That was the original grant amount. It did go through budgeting. Rachel can speak to a lot of the details on that because she actually handled it straight hand, but it was around $729,000, I think.
$729,000.
Actually, the original budget amount was over $1 million.
Okay.
And then it had to be scaled back $250,000, so that left us around $838.
Okay.
Which was much greater than going through the Wilson Education Center. I think it probably would have averaged out to about $10,000, I guess, that would have come towards us. And just to clarify one other piece, technically a school could have applied, but they would have had to have exhausted all their ESSER funds to have applied, which we know is really impossible to do spend all your ESSER funds in one day. So
Right. I don't even think we had
that was
ESSER
a stipulation that you could not be receiving ESSER funds.
Okay.
So it was geared towards your community partners to apply for.
For that, in which we did, there was a MOU that was signed by Dr. Briggs on the 12th of July. We as a board must approve that MOU and that signature, with Rachel and Christy both abstaining from that. Just to give you guys an opportunity, if you guys want to speak to it, some details on how that's going to be used, how that's going to be done.
Okay, just to give you a little background on this, the grant is centered around learning loss and catching students up from what they've lost during this pandemic. And we know that there's been a lot of learning loss, but it's also greatly affected our ESL and special education students. So although we have put in to this program supports for all students that would have had some learning loss, it's also got extra supports for our ESL and special needs. This program will allow for our 4 buildings, each building to have an ESL person, an ESL support person, a behavior interventionist support, and also a math interventionist and a reading interventionist, and that's during the day. Then after school, the program would consist of math and reading coaches, and these would be for 1 hour a day, possibly for 4 days a week. Some of these things, logistical pieces are still being worked out. I can tell you where we are at today in the hiring process. At the primary, we have hired a reading interventionist, and we have been able to support her with academic materials and professional development, totaling near 1,000. And then we have after-school interest. We have 1 math coach that's interested, and then 2 reading coaches interested. And then at the elementary, we have a reading interventionist, and we've been able to purchase academic supplies for this person as well, totaling near 500. And then we have hired a Spanish bilingual ESL translator and support person, who actually turned out to be a stronger candidate than we had even hoped for. This person has lesson planning knowledge, is going to school to be an educator, and like I said, is bilingual. And we also have a strong candidate for a behavioral interventionist position there. After school, the interest is 3 math coaches and 2 reading coaches. At the middle school, we also have a bilingual Spanish candidate that's coming in. Also, this person had greater credentials than we had even hoped for. This person understands lesson planning, WIDA standards, has had PSYOP training, and is also working towards her educational degree. We have some candidates at the middle school level with regards to behavioral interventionists and reading interventionists. And then after school, we have 1 person interested in a math coach position. At the high school, we have a strong candidate for the ESL position. Again, someone who is bilingual in Spanish. And then after school, we have interest, 1 math coach position, and then 3 reading coach positions that high school employees are interested in. So as you can tell, we do have some openings. So if you know of anyone who is interested, please feel free to tell them to contact us. Some of the positions do require a teaching degree and or license, and but then some of the others just require some certifications or qualifications. Yes.
Speak to the grant as well as what the sets that it can also provide as far as the PD and the software and stuff that would possibly have to be purchased from the school or by the district, but instead can actually be purchased through this grant and kind of shared amongst the teachers.
Yeah, so there is a budget for professional development. And then there is also a budget for supplies, like I'd mentioned, and the regular supplies and academic supplies, especially for those after-school employees that will be doing the 1-hour position, and for our daytime position people. But then also there's a component, there's a lot of data tracking that has to go on with this to continue to keep the grant. And one aspect is there's the initial collection of data to figure out who these targeted students should be. But then there's a component where we'll need to track their growth. And it was written into the grant that this will be done through IXL. And the school has also expressed interest in IXL. So this is something that we could partner on the invoice with. So Dragon Pals can pay for the professional development that comes with IXL, and this would cover all teachers at Silver Creek being able to do this professional development. And then also, like I said, we could partner on the invoicing, because we would be having to pay for a certain amount of students to be on this to track growth. And so it would be more beneficial to do this in a collaborative manner if they choose to, which we've had those discussions, and it looks like we're going to go that route, at least for some of the grade levels.
Can you also address any concerns of conflict of interest with you and Christy being on the board? Why this MOU was, know you talked to school attorneys.
Yep.
Got the approval. Can you just address that?
Yes. So before taking the position of the director over this program, I did speak with our school attorney, who advised that because the school is not paying me, this is all through the foundation and through a grant, it's a separate entity, then it is not considered a conflict of interest. Also, it is not my plan to be in the school building or school buildings. My work would be mainly behind the scenes and collecting all the documents that are needed for the data tracking and the hiring, and just all the things you would think of that need to be done behind the scenes. It's been written into the grant that there would be a building leader in each of the buildings that Dragon Pals would pay for, and that would be the contact person for our Dragon Pals employees to go to during the day, and then that person would be the one that would reach out to me on things that we would need to collaborate on. So
I think we've taken a lot of steps to meet with teachers, meet with our administrators, meet with Dr. Briggs, just to make sure that everyone understands that we see this as an opportunity and a good thing for our students and our staff and for our teachers to be able to utilize, for the district to be able to utilize. But they have a lot of challenges right now, just facilitating their buildings due to all the COVID implementations and everything that comes with that daily. So this is going to roll out slowly on their time frame. With their feedback on how they think it's positive or negative, or what's working and what's not. Anybody that we bring into the building is approved by them, kind of in a collaborative fashion. Everybody must pass background checks. Everybody must sign confidentiality agreements. So it's definitely a collaborative working agreement that we want to see turn out positive. And at the end, the goal is that all these disruptions that the students have faced in the last, now going into our third academic year of disruptions, quarantines, e-learning, that gap that is making our students, or some of them, suffer in their educational growth. This program, this funds, hopefully will help accelerate their learning and catch them up in these challenging times that we're having. So I think that's the overall goal.
Yeah, and just to note on the MOU, it does talk about how we would abide by strict confidentiality laws, that we'd follow all confidentiality laws as it pertains to FERPA and such. But yes, this is a wraparound program. The intent of it is to wrap around those students that need to be targeted and helped to grow and to facilitate their learning that they would have
we'll
lost.
take it step by step. Dr. Briggs is a great leader. He's going to communicate with his admin team, who will communicate back to us, and we'll take it year by year. This is a grant that can be renewed and applied for again next year. So we'll take it day by day, see how the program kind of rolls out, see if we're seeing growth in our students and if the grant's useful, and then we'll continue to see if it's a positive thing for our students, and if it is, we'll reapply and hopefully use the opportunity and resources that it provides for as long as we can for our district.
Any other questions?
On this grant, who do we report to where the funds are being spent?
The IDOE is the grant has to be reportable back to them. Everything that's spent out of it.
Yeah, so the state gave the money to the IDOE to handle and to facilitate. So they have, they're who I communicate with. We will be audited, and when we are audited, we're audited by the state. So they're the ones that handle the grant application. They're the ones that handle the accounting end of it, with us, and all of that.
We've put some really good, measures in place. We have a financial committee through the foundation. It's not just monitored by certain people. Susan Graston, Marcy Grube, Drew Day, those are all people that are going to oversight the financial committee. Our financials on the through the foundation are managed through that and overseen by a board. Through the foundation, the decisions made are overseen by a board vote and agreement as well.
All right. For this, I will ask for roll call voting, but before we can do that, do I have a motion to accept the MOU signed by Dr. Briggs and the Dragon Foundation and the Dragon Pals?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Grohl makes the motion. Do we have a second? I'll second that motion. Ms. Franklin?
Abstain.
Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Ms. Overberg?
Abstain?
Mr. Groen?
Yay.
And I also approve. Motion carries 3-0. Lastly on the agenda, we have the proposal for change of graduation. Mr. Eckert is requesting graduation to be on May 29th, 2020 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
2022.
I'm sorry, 2022 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sorry. I don't want to go back to 2020.
No, well, maybe February. So May 29th, 2022, 2 o'clock at Silver Creek High School. Do we have a motion to approve?
Also move.
Did we not want to have discussion on that first?
As soon as we have a second, we can.
Oh,
second.
Ms. Franklin seconds. Any discussion?
Yes.
How did I know?
My only concern is with it being Memorial Weekend. It's the Sunday of Memorial Weekend, and a lot of families go out of town or have just pre-planned family events that weekend. Aside from that, also I'm a little bit concerned with the 2 o'clock time frame. For those who go to church, I don't know that we're being respectful of that, because by the time they get out of church and have dinner and they're able to go home, change clothes, and then you always have to be there like an hour earlier. Such at the graduation, I'm not sure that that's really given enough time for that on a Sunday.
Mr. Eckert, I know in your plan that you made some comments about those exact things. Do you want to come up and
Yeah, we made it 2 o'clock because we thought that would give people time, but I'm open to delaying it further in the day if you want. Having it earlier in the day allows people to do things after graduation, whereas but before we had 3 high schools, so Borden or Henryville went at 2, the other went at 4, and we always went last. So our kids are getting out of there at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and there's just not much, especially when we did it on Sunday. Everybody had to be to work on Monday, so that was a complaint we heard. Doing it on Memorial Day, you know, I understand some people would have plans, but doing it this far in advance, they can celebrate graduation an extra day was another way we kind of looked at it. So, so I guess there's two ways to look at it. One of the big issues is the amount of time between when we can do rehearsal with the kids and actually do graduation. I mean, it was 9 or 10 days last year, and it would be about the same this year as well. Sometimes kids forget, believe it or not, where they're supposed to stand and what order they're supposed to be in. And, you know, it took us a little while to get everybody out there this year just because, I mean, it was just so long. And, you know, unless you do it a couple days before, you run into that problem. So we had a delay before because of snow days being added on to the end of the calendar, and we don't have that issue anymore. So there's really no reason to wait a week and a half.
Have we considered not doing it on a Sunday, doing it on a Friday?
The only, and I did think about that. You know, my preference would be to do it on a Friday, but we have to steer clear of athletics because sometimes baseball, especially on Memorial Day weekend, they're playing sectional finals on Saturday. The other thing is there's always a threat of rain and things getting moved around. I mean, even if you know what the schedule is, I mean, they're going to play when the weather's good. So, so that staying off of other days besides Sunday is kind of needed for athletic reasons. Baseball sectionals are going on, softball sectionals are going on. That late in the year, track state finals are going on, but the regional and sectional is usually over by then.
I want to let you know I'm a boater, and that's a boating weekend, but I think you can look at it either as a positive or negative, and I think that we'll be celebrating the second class of SCSC graduating, and what better weekend to do it than a weekend when families can have an extra day to hold open houses and do things like that. So, support you.
It's my son's birthday weekend too, but it's all good. We'll always be there. The only thing, my only recommendation is we have enough diplomas. That's all.
Have enough what?
Diplomas to hand
Yeah,
out.
we're gonna count them a little better this year.
Mr. Losey, were you wanting to add?
Mr. Smith is concerned because they rehearse quite a bit. He thinks 3 or 4.
4. I was
3 or 4.
My thought was 4 o'clock.
Then you're creeping into dinner maybe though. How long is the ceremony?
About an hour and a half.
Can't you get it perfect for everybody? I mean,
Well, first year I was here, it took an hour.
We're
More kids means more names have to be.
Exactly.
If we go 4 o'clock, it gives everybody time to get out and have
I'm fine with
celebration
4
dinner.
o'clock.
Yeah.
How about that?
that sounds good.
We still have time after 4. So.
I'll go with whatever your recommendation is.
Yeah, whatever your recommendation
I'm fine with
is.
4 o'clock.
All right, so we want to strike the motion in the second and revise proposal of graduation on May 29th of 2022 at 4 o'clock p.m. at Silver Creek High School. We have a motion to accept that.
I so move.
Ms. Overberg makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groen seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Lastly, I'll just ask for any board member comments, and I'll start. I know we have Elizabeth Miller and Adam Farley here. They just joined us as our Director of Building Facilities and Human Resources. If you guys could stand up, or any other teachers that we have that are new, any classified staff that we have that are here, welcome. Most board meetings do not last this long, so don't be afraid to come back.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay.
Welcome to the board.
One thing I'll say is I want to welcome everybody back into the building. Know that I know it's a frustrating time with quarantines. Heard from a lot of parents, students over the last week, and to the students, I can say that I just tell you, don't give up. You know, I know I've had some comments from students that have already been quarantined now and worried about their education or their extracurriculars. Just don't give up. Just we will make it through this. To the parents, know that a few things. Number one, that we are working. on a revised back-to-school plan. I would think that here relatively soon, we'll probably have a special board meeting to approve that plan. I know somebody said earlier something about out of the box, and that's one reason why we're not cookie cuttering this and following every other school district. We're going to look at what's best for Silver Creek students and Silver Creek campuses and Silver Creek staff. The last thing I'd like to say is that contrary to popular belief, no, I'm not a moron, and no, I'm not an idiot, although I have been called that about 100 times this past week. So I'm not as uneducated as a lot of people may seem to think. But in all honesty, we appreciate it. Welcome back. We hope that this school year does improve, and that you guys stick with us. Any other board members want to say anything?
I just wanted a real quick shout out to the high school for having a unified track program. That's awesome, really cool. I like that idea. Good job there. And also, I'm always said the same thing when Mr. Balmer did it, and I also thank you for adding more courses to the classroom. So good job, kudos.
I just want to say to all of our staff, teachers, building administrators, custodians, bus drivers, we know you're working way harder, way longer than what's expected or called for you to do. We all recognize that. We are going to be working continuously to make sure that you are shown that value, that we recognize the burdens that are placed on you, not only in your profession at Silver Creek, but that we recognize that you guys are also people, that you guys are also parents, and that you are facing those challenges from every different angle just like us. So thank you. If you're a parent at home and you are frustrated, just know that we're all frustrated. The teachers are frustrated. We're frustrated. We're going to try to continue to work together to get through all the challenges that we face. What I do ask is that if you're a parent and you're frustrated and you have a perspective that you want to share, or you get a call that your child has been quarantined, understand that it is not anybody else's or anybody's fault up here. It is not the building administrator's fault or your teacher's fault or anything. And so please respect our teachers and our staff when you have questions, and maybe they call you and inform you of that bad news at this point. Everybody's under a great deal of stress, and let's all work together. We may have different perspectives, but the common ground is the kids. And keep that in mind when you are calling, speaking, or thinking about sharing your thoughts. We can all agree that through respect and communication and proper planning and keeping safety at our forefront, that we will get through this. So let's get through this together positively. Let's be the district that's the example that shows people that we can be respectful to each other, that we can all have our own perspectives, and that we can continue to work together. And I thank all of you guys for your hard work.
Rachel, Joe?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think I've said everything.
With that being said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Also move.
Mr. Basham makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll make a second.
Ms. Franklin seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting adjourned, 8:09.